But ideally, Mbappe plays on the left and he plays with the number 9. Like if you could get Mbappe and Kane on the same team, perfect. Because Kane he wants to play. He's not necessarily like just goal hunting like a Haaland or something. But if
you are, the hate is magnificent. Daniel is, people in the chat have been catching it. The hate is magnificent, and I'm here for all the Haaland hate or Haaland, whatever his name. I'm here for all of it. All of it.
He's a if football player just means someone who wears a football kit and goes on the pitch. If that's all it means, then of course he's a good footballer. But when I say footballer, I mean somebody who has the ball at their feet and can do things. He's not a good footballer.
All I saw was I'm not even at that level. I'm way more immature than that. All I saw was another attempt at a great white hope, and I was like, I can't rock with him. I'm rooting for his downfall from the beginning.
He's good at what he does, but
I'm not mad at him as a player. But it's not about the player. It's the way the world responds to him. It's the way the media were responding to him. I'm like, I'm uncomfortable. This is too much. It's too much.
I just wouldn't pay money to watch him play because I don't. Like I don't think I've seen him complete a step over.
That's amazing.
So I'm sorry, Mutanda.
I love
it. Like, give me something to watch. Jeez, just tap in. Oh, I not to derail us, but Mutanda, can I ask a question? Why do Americans say outside back instead of fullback? Is that because there's a fullback position in American football, so there doesn't want to be a conflation? Like, why outside back, inside back instead of fullback, wing back, center back? Like, what is that? I've always wondered this. This is my chance to ask a coach.
Honestly, I think a lot of those terms are interchangeable. So I think people just, because I've used those both in players who play in the back, right? It's like there's center back, outside back. You know what I mean? Like I think there's.
Yeah, I cringe at outside back. I'm like, it's a fullback.
Let me ask you a question.
But then a fullback is like Mike Allstott in the United States. It doesn't mean the same thing, I guess.
Let me ask you a question, Daniel. And this isn't just Daniel. I can open it up. How many step overs have you seen Leo Messi do?
That was just one skill move, and enough. Enough would be the answer. I've seen him do at least one.
Okay.
Have you seen Haaland do one?
Why is someone doing a step over your definition of what makes them a good footballer?
Because it just shows you have skill.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Within context, obviously. But like any I could do a step over. You wouldn't call me skillful, but within the context of the game, trying to beat a player, putting your foot over the ball, doing the Ronaldo R9 step over, like it's sexy. Let's be serious. Haaland is just not a sexy footballer. Like I said, I wouldn't want him to. I wouldn't pay to watch him play. Is my point. I don't get anything except just. He's like white bread, like sandwich bread. Like he's just plain.
Okay. All right, but here's what we're.
Give me some pumpernickel. Give me some. Just put something in it.
Rice,
It's just bland.
I'm not.
Daniel's too much, boy.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
I don't even think I'm being extra. I just feel like I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, but let's be honest though.
It's really the way Mutanda is responding. That's what I think.
Because this is on the run sheet. Remember how I mentioned about in people not giving grace to the laborers. This exemplifies what I'm talking about. I'm gonna level with you, Daniel, and not just Daniel, but anyone who has this opinion, who says this kind of stuff, right? I'm gonna level with you. I understand, like I have eyes, and I think I know a good deal about the game, but we all do. But I just want us to be. So I want to push us towards a deeper analysis, right?
Oh boy.
Because if we are going to define a quality footballer by their quote unquote sexiness. And I understand what you mean when you say that, But like essentially if we define a good footballer by aesthetically, how they make us feel, which is open to a bunch of different subjectiveness, we do run the risk. Actually, it's not even a risk. We are, the longer we go down that road, we're getting into an area where we're not appreciating, again, the laborers and how difficult it is to do what they do. Because, and whether it's just people in the chat or people, pundits, whatever, who say things like, and verbatim, it was just said here and it's been said, oh, he just scores goals, or he does this, he does that. Are we stop and think about how scoring goals in football is the hardest thing to do in the game, right? What do you mean? It's the hard. Are you okay? So here's what I mean. This is the ridiculousness of the conversation. Are you now debating me that like scoring goals, like being to score a goal and win your team the game, is not like the goal of football?
I would debate your framing, because you're making it seem like scoring a goal from the individual is the hardest thing to do. Scoring a goal as a team, as a collective, is the hardest thing to do. But it depends on the type of finish that we're talking. A tap in is not objectively harder than the through ball that creates the tap in, even though the context of the goal is difficult to accomplish.
But see, now what you're doing, be careful, Daniel, because you're doing exactly what I'm asking us to do, which is you're going to a deeper level of analysis. Because actually, I didn't mention whether it was individual or team. I just said scoring goals is difficult. I'm
setting my frame just so you can understand where I'm at.
My frame is this. If you told me, I think Haaland scored 50, I don't know how many goals he scored last season when they won everything, 50 some goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
This season, he's being critiqued because he's been injured also, but you could say, oh, he's underperformed in some games. And I still think he's either surpassed 30 already, all competitions, or he's close to. What does that tell us? What it tells us is the bar, that he set a bar so high for doing something, putting the ball in the goal, that is very, very difficult to do. And you want to talk about tap-ins. Here's the thing about tap-ins, and I'll give you an example, Filippo Inzaghi. You know that name?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. Filippo Inzaghi, the people used to criticize him, and because they made the joke, like I think Marcel Desailly, I think it was him who talked about, oh, he was born offsides, or like he's like, oh, this guy's cheating, because basically Inzaghi was one of those forwards, right? That like, for people who don't know Inzaghi, he wouldn't really get involved in like the team's build up, and in fact, he was not. You could say he was kind of clumsy with his feet, whatever. Nowhere near as big as Haaland, but he was, he just wasn't that type of forward. He was a poacher, right? He was kind of like sniffing little half chances out. If your team makes a mistake, boom, he pounces on it, or through balls, etc. But he scored a ton of goals, scored a ton of important goals. Now, here's what I'm saying is, in our football discussions, in our discussions about it, let's at least have grace to the laborers here. Let's not pretend that like doing what Haaland does is easy. Let's not pretend like it was easy, because if it was easy, a hell of a lot more people would be doing it and earning a ton of money. And let's also not pretend that he's not like he's the brilliance of what he does, even tap-ins, because I take your point about, scoring a tap-in is not as easy as scoring, some of the goals that Vinny scores. Haaland and Vinny, two different players. Do I appreciate Vinny more? Actually, do I enjoy Vinny more? Yes, I personally enjoy Vinny more, but I appreciate both of them. Why? Because Haaland has to spend the entire match surrounded by typically two players, right? He's surrounded by two players. And for him to get a tap in, the way he has to use his space and arrive at just the right moment to score is not a coincidence. So for people who say, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I would score those goals too. Hey, you have to get in that situation, which in football is 90% of the battle. Like, that's very difficult. To arrive at just the right moment is actually like, that's the challenge in the game. So let's just give grace to the laborers. You don't have to like Haaland, but we can appreciate that what he does is remarkable.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
This is a crude analogy. I can appreciate like Eminem's ability to spit bars and lyrics together, but how the music that he makes me feel is something that I don't like. Like, I don't like what he raps about. I don't like his subject matter. Like, how he makes me feel when he does his music or spits his bars is not something I can get with. There are obviously people who are less complex in their lyrics, or there are people who are more complex in their lyrics, but ultimately music is about how it makes you feel. for me and how I watch football, obviously you have your lens as a coach and you can look at it more broadly. But me as a consumer of football, it's about how does a player make me feel when I watch them. And for me, Haaland he's like an Eminem type person where he does everything right, but it doesn't make me feel anything because there's nothing there to feel. It's just he's the period on the end of a sentence, which is important. You need punctuation, but there are other words that need to happen, and those words are what makes you feel something. At least for me.
But where your analogy? No, and I hear that. And I'm not, again, I said I enjoy. We're aligned in a lot of things. Where that breaks down though is the difference between music and football is, again, in football, it's not the aesthetic that is the objective, right? Achieving the objective, the way you try to achieve the objective is what unleashes the aesthetic. So it's not aesthetic for aesthetic's sake, right? When you listen to music, you're not trying to. It's music. You're just trying to enjoy it. It's not necessarily. Yes, you could say in some sense you're trying to make a point with it, but like in football, you're trying to score goals. How you score those goals as an individual, as a team, depends on many different things. But just the pure fact of scoring those goals is in football, like, it's hard to do. So Haaland, people may not like me saying this, but it's true. Haaland, if you just take him and put him in any era of football, he would score goals in any era of football. Like it's true. It's remarkable because his physical makeup and the way he arrives in situations, like, you know, he's not R9. R9 is maybe the best forward that I've seen. Like, he's unbelievable. Right? There's so many forwards who don't lace his boots. But my God, like, that's all I'm saying. So I hear you, Daniel. I hear you.
My thing is, again, I admit my bias, and the comparison for me with Eminem again is that it's where it does work is that I'm only judging. My initial judgment starts with the reaction of the world that's trying to tell me it's just too much. It's too much, and it feels like I reacted the same way when Haaland started getting, you know, a lot of name at Dortmund. And I felt it when he got to Man City. It just went overboard with it. It just feels like I feel like white commentators and writers and fans are just too happy. And I'm not.
Maybe.
My analysis is not sound. It's not scientific.
No,
it's not even rational. It's just. So I just don't. But I will say this though: when I watch, I do try to think about when I try to be objective, just for the eye test. I don't see I think Benzema looked way more of an exciting player at the same spot to me than
different
Haaland.
Players. Yeah.
Well, but I mean, when playing similar positions, I was trying to think of others. Benzema was maybe the more recent one. I mean, I would get upset if people started really making a comparison between Haaland and R9. That's not even.
Yeah.
I hope that's not happening yet.
He's not in that
but
league.
even players
thank you. Yeah,
and these are different profiles of players that we're talking about, and different players have different qualities and attributes that determine how they play. Haaland has his, and it's working quite well. He's scoring more than a goal a game, so what he's doing is not wrong. It's just when you watch him, I don't get anything from it except he scored. Okay, cool, like great, but even players like Lewandowski, if we just want to keep it European, at least he gives me something extra. Like, actually, I feel more confident when he has the ball because he's going to do something with it. Even, and this is dangerous to say given the last 18 months, but he feels like he's going to do something with it. With Haaland, it feels like, is he going to control it? Is the pass going to be properly weighted? Like when he's in build-up. So,
but this is where the analysis of the team and it comes into play as well. Right. And the context of and zooming out and zooming in on the different levels of analysis here and the layers of it, because you can't tell me what you're saying about Haaland then. I hear you. He's a young player and he can improve on these aspects. At the same time, he was the central figure or the nine, right? The tip of the spear of a team that won everything. That doesn't happen if he doesn't do more than just I'm tapping the ball into the goal, right? Like you see what I'm saying? Like, people can't have it both ways. You can't on the one hand say oh, but he's just tapping the ball into the goal, and he doesn't offer me anything else. On a team like
Except they
Man
did
City,
win. Didn't they win everything without him already, though?
no, they didn't win. Yeah, well, that's
Man
before
City.
he got
not the
before
Champions
he got
League, but they
before
won.
he got there. Before he got there.
before he
Yeah,
got
that's
there,
what
they
I'm
would win.
saying.
They
So,
didn't win the
like-
Champions League without him, but
Oh, really?
They had-
Okay, my bad.
Yeah,
All right, my
yeah.
bad. Okay, my bad. All right.
oh,
can-
also
yeah.
can I like Pippo Inzaghi in the VAR era isn't like no.
I don't know.
Like his game would have had to been tailored differently, because he would have been offside. Like they would have drawn the lines into offside. He would have been Morata in that case. But obviously, if you take Inzaghi, whose brother is the coach of Milan, by the way, for people who want more reference, if you take Pippo Inzaghi and you put him in this era, his game would have been different because he would have had to adjust. So, but I'm just saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you all a question that's kind of outside of soccer, but how well do you remember / rate Tim Duncan as a basketball player?
Perfect example for Haaland, by the way.
Yeah, how well do you rate him?
Big.
I agree.
Actually,
That's
no,
a good-
no,
that's pretty
no.
good.
Actually,
Why
no.
no?
No,
Okay, why
it's
no,
not
though? I
perfect.
thought that was pretty good.
No, because
Why?
Duncan was fundamentally sound. Everything he did was with purpose,
Oh, and
with
you're
precision.
saying Haaland is not. I got
Haaland
you.
isn't as
Yeah.
precise as Duncan.
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair. He's
well,
not
no,
a
I'm-
big fundamental.
Haaland is like there's not even a basketball comp. I was thinking of players who just kind of like Tyson Chandler, like somebody who's just like
I think he's more fundamental. Listen, could Tim? It's actually even
Haaland is DeAndre Jordan.
Jesus.
He
Here's the
finishes
point,
alley oops and he does everything he's supposed to do. But like the dunks
But-
don't even make you feel anything because he's 7 feet tall. You know.
Well, but here's why I ask, though. Here's why I ask. Tim Duncan. It's an opinion, but I think there's a lot of evidence for this. Tim Duncan is criminally underrated by a lot of people. And if you look at this era, the era of the San Antonio Spurs while he was there, they won a lot, and he was the focal point, and he was the main guy. And I remember, actually, I had my buddies and they used to give me a lot of crap for this because I enjoyed watching the San Antonio Spurs, right? The way they played basketball. Now, a lot of people called them boring, and a lot of people called Tim Duncan boring. But if you look at what he did for that team and how good he was at certain things, which weren't flashy. I mean, even the way he used to shoot his elbow jumpers where he would go backboard, like he would get clowned for that. Like, why are you using the backboard? It's like
Fundamental.
Mutanda.
So I just like, listen, it's about the effect. The link I'm making is this, right? Is that like, look, it's about the way you achieve the ultimate objective, like the execution of it, like how the aesthetic of it is unique to the person, their physiological makeup, all these different things. But in terms of actually executing something, like you give grace to the laborers, it's very difficult to do what Haaland does. And he does more than just tap the ball in. Now, you cannot like it. You can say you enjoy other people more. That's fine. What you can't do is say he's in good.
Just
Good.
quickly,
Yeah.
Robert. So Mutanda, you are admitting that Haaland is a laborer, though. Like he's not an artist necessarily.
They're all labor. Everybody's a laborer.
He's an artist and not
Everybody-
an artist. Like, can I just get you like? So he's a laborer in football terms. Because
everybody's a
I
laborer
actually
in
like that
football.
phrasing. I think it fits quite well to my point.
Everybody is a laborer, Daniel, but some people have more artists in them. You have to be a laborer. They're all laborers, but some have more.
We're agreed. Okay, no.
Yeah.
Stasis. Robert, go for it.
No, I was
Get
I
your
was gonna-
shoe shine box,
I was
Tommy.
just going
Y'all
back to
too young for
this
that.
this Tim Duncan analogy. I mean, it's a lot of people think that Tim Duncan is the best power forward in the history of the game. You know, I mean, I don't know if he is, but
Yeah, a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people.
he's in the discussion.
Yeah.
You know, regardless.
I'm not calling Haaland the best forward ever in the game.
I think Haaland's problem is that Haaland is, how long has he been in Man City? 2 years?
Yes.
This
This
is
is
the
the
second year?
season.
Yeah, this is second season.
I mean, this dude is still a rookie. You know, I mean,
And look how many goals he scored. It's unbelievable.
yeah, but I mean, come back in 5 years, you know, and then let's have a discussion about how good Haaland has been. You know, I mean, 2 years is 2 years. You know,
Yeah.
he's a big dude. He's very strong. He's hard to handle. But you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of that woman. There was a woman on the U.S. There was a woman on the U.S. national team who only
It was just
headers.
a pause. It was a big pause.
I missed.
Daniel's wilding today.
Nah,
Man. Go ahead, Robert. I'm with you, Robert.
I'm trying.
I
I'm
completely
trying.
missed that one. I don't know what that one's about.
That's just Daniel on his nonsense today.
Anyway, there was a woman on the U.S. national team who was a star.
Are you talking about Abby Wambach?
Abby Wambach. 90% of the goals she scored were headers. I mean, I may be wrong about the percentage. She never did, at least the games that I saw, I never saw her with the ball at her feet, doing anything on the ground with the ball, ever. Now, maybe she did. Maybe I missed out. But 90% of what she did was because she was tall, she was strong, she could jump, and she headed the ball in, you know? I mean, I don't see much difference between her and Haaland, to tell you the truth, in terms of a game, you know? I mean, he's not creating shit. He's got a team around him.
Not his role.
That sets him up. No, it's not his role. Yeah. But if it was his role, he'd be up shit creek.
But it's not. But what's up? This is a question for all of y'all though. And what level? Why do we have to look at sports? Why do people look at sports from this like lens of the individual? Like the individual is not in a vacuum, right? And so I don't have to be a player that is a jack of all trades to be a great player. Like I don't have to do that.
Mutanda, wait a minute. We love this sport because we like to see freaks of nature. I mean, it sounds like what you're doing is arguing for an artificially intelligent view of the sport of football.
No,
where everybody is a goddamn robot.
No.
But I mean, you know,
far from it.
Haaland is not somebody that's going to, you know, captivate any kind of aesthetic notion in the game. He's never going to be aesthetically beautiful.
He's
utilitarian.
But this is like so. Can I ask? So you're saying that how Man City play as a team, as a collective, is aesthetically pleasing to you? There are people who would argue that, like me, but you might say Manchester City style of play and how Pep Guardiola sets out his team, all 11 players, how they work together, is aesthetically pleasing. And Haaland scoring goals is the punctuation or the finish of that aesthetic move or play. Correct?
Yeah, there's another part to that, but yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So
that's how
And then I think what I'm saying, perhaps Robert is saying this as well, is the individual parts of the team, the components that make, you know, Man City. Mm-hmm. Some of them have different roles, some of them have different qualities, whatever. When we're looking at players and what they're capable of doing on the ball, Haaland is limiting in that sense, but he brings a greater good in the context of the team. I think we all could agree to that.
Oh, yeah, and so then how do you get from that point to undervaluing? Because this is what I heard. This is how I would describe it.
Okay.
Undervaluing, underappreciating what he does is challenging to do, and he's very, very good at it. How do you make that leap? Because I'm with you, and a lot of this depends on your own subjective interpretation, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But what we can't do, we cannot take a subjective interpretation based on an aesthetic, which is what you just laid out, and then have that be an analysis of how good these labor artists, because some of them are more artists than laborers, but they're all labor artists, of how good these people are at what they do. Erling Haaland, and Robert, you actually, to refute something that you said, when you say like freaks of nature, you wouldn't describe Erling Haaland as a freak of nature? Like in terms of just his physical makeup, he's a freak.
No, he is.
He's like the definition of a freak. So,
He is a freak. I'm not saying he's not a freak. It's just that he's not a freak that I'm like particularly interested in seeing.
He's not a crack
and that is
in how the Brazilians use the word crack. Like he's not Neymar. He's not.
He'll play for his entire career, and he will never be a crack. Never. He'll never make that. He'll never make.
And that's fine, but don't argue something I'm not saying. Because again, I'm leveling with everyone here. I understand that, but that is a subjective interpretation, and it's fine. You're entitled to it. What I'm saying is, this guy, and that's why I brought up like a player like Filippo Inzaghi, and there are others throughout football, right? This is the thing. It's like looking at the history of football gives you like a clear understanding of what I'm saying here, which is the number of players who have like gotten fans out of their seats and who we can all universally be like, oh my God, every time this guy touches the ball, it's not that big. Right? It's nostalgia that makes people have this kind of thinking of the game, like, oh, the game back then was so much, and now it's just a bunch of robots. Like to a certain extent, I understand what they're talking about with systems and all that, but miss me with these guys aren't good. All they do is that, because it's a ridiculous argument, because the game's too hard. So so respectfully, and this is where I'm coming right at you, Daniel, when people who watch the sport say things like that, to me, it tells me that they haven't played at a really high level. Because there's no way, if you've played or experienced the game at a high level, and you look at a Haaland, even if you don't like the way he looks, you would be like, yo, to score that many goals in different ways. And let's be perfectly honest here. They're not all tap-ins. They're not all the same goal. Sometimes Haaland's running in behind. Sometimes he's scoring headers. Sometimes he has these acrobatic finishes that you're like, how the hell did he? Go look up for anybody on this call. Look up the goal he scored last year in the Champions League against Dortmund, when João Cancelo, in a very aesthetically pleasing move, outside of the foot pass cross to Haaland, Haaland jumps up where a lot of players might try to head it. Haaland jumps up and his foot is like over his head, and he acrobatically like flicks the ball into the goal. Is that aesthetically pleasing? It got a hell of a lot of people out of their seats. So all I'm saying is this: give grace to the laborers. They're really good at what they do, even if you particularly don't like the style or manner with which they do it. And the numbers back that up as well, because Haaland has scored goals wherever he has been. It's not just, look at it. Thank you. Just run this back. But you really, is anybody going to honestly look at this and be like, oh yeah, that's not amazing. That's not brilliant. Look where he is. Jared, can you go back to Cancelo having the ball, and then can you pause it? Go back to the very beginning.
It doesn't move me, bro.
It's fine. Just pause it. Okay. If you stop it here, Erling Haaland there is surrounded by yellow players.
But right? The ball isn't.
Daniel, let me finish my point.
This is Dortmund's fault for even allowing the cross in.
Yeah, but
as a coach, are you pleased with Dortmund's closing down of the ball?
Yeah, but Daniel, you're taking it. Hey, let's argue what you were talking about. I'm talking about the degree of difficulty here. That's all. That's my main point. I'm not talking about aesthetically what you like. And I get what you're saying, and just hear what I'm saying. You're really trying to tell me that this guy, you look at where Haaland is there, the chances of scoring from there, like that this is easy, that this is something that we can like scoff at because we don't like the way, because he doesn't do step overs. That's ridiculous. Because how many people in the world,
bro, Cancelo took another touch.
Do this?
Look, the ball, the Travella that Cancelo just did. That's impressive. He put it on a sixpence.
But what Haaland just did there is not impressive to you, Dan.
No, but even if Haaland missed this is my point. This is my point. Even if Haaland missed that chance, the most impressive thing was Cancelo thinking that he could even attempt an outside of the boot pass. That's the best thing about this. It's not the finish. It's the idea.
But Daniel, it feels like you're like just digging in now for no reason, because we have video here. And I level with you, Daniel. I never said João Cancelo's pass was not good or quality or any of that. We're talking about Haaland.
But you're asking me like about the play, right? The most impressive thing to me about the play is the outside of the boot pass. It's the thought. What Haaland did was instinctual. He didn't need to think about it. He just did it. But Cancelo's intent.
What does that have to do with how difficult it is? What does that have to do with how difficult it is, Daniel?
But you're asking me, or I don't even know if you're asking me this, but this is my point. Is there's again, it's about feel. It's about how a player makes me feel, right? And this is obvious, and this is obviously subjective, and you've already conceded this point. So I'm not arguing with you that what Haaland does there isn't difficult. Of course, it's difficult, but is it as impressive to me as the pass? And there's nothing that you can say objectively that's going to change my subjective reality. Does that make sense?
I never argued that, number one, but number two, that to me that's irrelevant. I never argued that, and the reason it's irrelevant is because they need one another. Right? Obviously Haaland can't score without the pass. The pass starts it, which is brilliant. But also that pass doesn't come from João unless he understands or trusts that someone's there to finish it. And then for a team to be successful, and this is what I mean about Haaland or any player, and their role within a team. When you have a player who's capable of scoring the amount of goals that this dude scores, it doesn't matter what team in the world they're in, that team has a greater chance of being successful. Real Madrid, the team that I started this conversation on with the rant and all that, Real Madrid wanted Haaland before City got him. They all wanted him. They still want him. If Haaland says tomorrow, hey, after this season, I'm leaving Man City and I'm open, Real Madrid will put in a bid. Why would they do that? Why would Florentino Perez and this amazing club that Real Madrid is, this historic club, the club that R9 played in, the club that Cristiano Ronaldo played in, all these legendary players, all these players who were aesthetically much, much better than Haaland? And I agree with that. Why would they want Haaland? It's because they understand that he can. Okay, so in your analysis, Daniel, or in your subjective lens of viewing the game, you need to at least concede and admit, what he does is damn hard to do, and he's one of the best.
I said it was a difficult finish.
Not the best in the world at it. Like, he is, and there's no but that needs to come after that. Like
okay. Have I told you guys the point that Gareth Bale is the most pace? Okay, there's a trope, because I know we probably need to go soon, but there's a trope that black players are pace and power. I'm sure you guys have heard that one. Pace and power. Oh, he's got PMP is what the children call it. PMP. Now, Gareth Bale never got called out for being pace and power, and he even got to Madrid with this. But if you look at the Gareth Bale's skills, he's the most pace and power player of his generation. He just wasn't called that because his skin tone didn't match the stereotype. Haaland is in a similar space where he has pace and power. He's tall, he's fast, he's quick. If he was an African player, there'd be so many stereotypes of what his game was and what his game wasn't.
Are you going to hit us with the Isaiah Thomas? If he was black, he'd be just another nice striker to have. Is that what he said about what Isaiah said about Larry Bird?
Larry Bird was actually black, cold though.
That
was a
ball
misnomer.
Player. Oh,
but okay, so what I'm getting at is, if you want a tall, fast, strong footballer that plays that position, look at Ibrahimovic. He would get the ball and he would dribble people. He would actually create goals for himself. He wasn't reliant on the team construct to create goals for him. He could actually do it himself as well as work within a team construct. But there's a reason why Pep wanted him out. He needed him out because Ibrahimovic has a me first mentality. Now, politically, I might have a problem with that. And you could say sports should be a microcosm of society and da-da-da. But there are instances where I would like an individual to do something. And Haaland is not capable of doing that despite being built the same way. And again, players have different qualities, and he's perfect for what Man City need him to be. But I don't like watching him. And that's why we're here, because we like watching people do things, right? Otherwise, what's the point?
And will Real want him after having gotten Mbappe? We'll leave that for the next time. No, I'm just playing.
They don't match. That would be a disaster.
No, I'm saying, will they still want him after they have Mbappe?
Real all these teams want everybody, because there's certain profiles in the game that are just like Haaland, regardless of what you think of him, and he's a unique profile.
Very quickly before we close up, what's the prediction for the final?
I hope Dortmund wins. I hope Dortmund smashes it. I hope it's like 5-0 Dortmund.
The main reason that I honestly, the main reason I will be rooting for Real Madrid is because when Vinny does his dance, Europeans get
Oh,
incensed.
yeah.
And I
that's true.
that's it. I go to his. I followed him on IG just to get his
Wow.
responses.
While
So like I want to see him win, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, and
while we're pulling up clips, can you pull up Ibrahimovic's goal against Ajax, and can that close us
goal is
out?
Unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Just as evidence of what somebody who's 6'4" is capable of doing
No,
in an ideal world, who's also from one of those Nordic places.
This is ridiculous. I'm not gonna let you get away with that. What you're about to watch
Is one of the greatest footballers of all time, strikers anyway, doing something crazy. Now Haaland couldn't dream.
I knew you were gonna. Yeah, no, and Daniel, but that just proves how remarkable Ibrahimovic is. It doesn't necessarily I don't take that as how many players can do this full stop? Like, this is unbelievable.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Haaland would have torn his ACL by now. Look at this. Stop it.
That is nasty. Hold on.
That is
nasty. That is nasty.
And it's about what he's thinking more so than anything. Again, you could say parts of it are instinctual in the way that Haaland's finish was, but this makes me feel something different than the previous clip. So first he's getting the ball 30 meters out. He already beat one dude. Fake shot. Sent that guy for milk. Now he's like, okay, what am I going to do? And he figures it out for himself. How many fake shots are we doing here? These are professional defenders, by the way. The shift of the ball. Keep in mind, this guy's 6'5". He's growing as I talk, Paul.
That one right there, that's the one I like.
It's this part because he fake shots again. Yeah. He killed the goalkeeper and the defender.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then score
he scored with his left foot too.
Yeah,
let's be serious. Like these now, and it's a disrespectful goal because he's not supposed to be able to do any of this. And this is a consistent theme in how I feel about the sport. But Haaland would never think to do any of this. Look at these are paid defenders. I feel bad for the brother here, but oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he put the shit on him.
That's crazy.
Yeah. No.
Now play the Haaland clip. And is it no, actually don't. I've won, but so let's not introduce a foreign element.
You haven't won a damn thing.
Daniel won.
You haven't won a damn thing. You haven't won a damn
thing. Zero sum, right? It's a draw. We drew.
It's not a draw. No. I played for keeps on this one. It's not a draw at all. I was very clear and consistent.
Are you really saying no? Wait. Are you saying that Haaland is already better than Ibrahimovic?
Me? Yeah. When did you get me? No.
When did you hear that?
When did you hear that? Yeah.
I thought that's what you were saying. I played for keeps, whatever. I wasn't sure.
I'm talking about with Daniel's BS about this was a draw because he tries to backtrack his argument about because he knows that he lost the debate in terms of what.
But I thought his point was that Ibra's better. That's what I thought.
Oh no, that's I don't need to say that. That's
Daniel's point. Daniel's
what's understood doesn't need to be said.
He's saying he's here for the disrespect. He wants players to do.
Are you ever gonna watch a Haaland comp and just be like, oh, like?
What does that have to do? See, you're just changing. What does that have to do with anything?
Because this whole thing is about how athletes and sports make people feel. It's a feeling.
But here's what you don't acknowledge though, and this is what's interesting. You say it's a feeling, but then your level of analysis is about the individual. Why can't people get a feeling also about a team? Because what you're saying about feeling that way
about the goals,
individual, you're not. Are you hearing me? Because I think I'm.
And this is all P&P. Look at him pushing people into empty nets. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Oh my goodness!
Like his penalty technique here might be the best thing that we see in the comp.
I mean, the thing about this.
Okay, okay. Let's count. How many goals did he make for himself? So that arguable.
He's not that. That's not. But you're not. You're.
It's clever, but De Bruyne is doing most of the work here.
Daniel, let me ask you a question.
Header.
What do you think?
Great. Okay, cool.
What do you think my point actually is? Because I don't even know if you've heard me.
I think your point
what do you think
is that scoring, as your initial point was, scoring goals is difficult. And as we see, and it's a tap in. It's a tap in. But look, as we see, Manchester City's play here is exceptional. The way that everybody's linking and finding through balls, they play well. But Haaland's role, as I said, he's the punctuation. He's the period, question mark. You could even say he's an exclamation mark if you wanted. But he's the punctuation. He's finishing the things, but he's not necessarily creating every single goal in the way that someone like Zlatan was able to do. That's my only point.
No, yeah, that's your point. So you didn't hear my point. Because I asked you if you understand my point. You gave me your point again.
I know. They're great fit. Look, it's good finishing. But that's it.
But then I would just say you're not looking deep enough. But that's just me. But we can leave that for another call.
So like, actually, are you moved by these highlights?
Am I moved by this? Yeah. But,
look at this. Look. I mean, Foden did all the work, and he just tapped it into an empty net. Like, let's be serious.
Daniel.
That's a deep question.
I'll be honest with you.
What is this?
Now you're just being disrespectful.
I know.
Not
to him, but not you.
No, you are. No.
I respect your opinion, but like, let's watch the footage.
No, but you don't respect my craft. That's what I'm saying. God. You don't respect the craft. This is what I'm saying. You don't respect the craft. Because again, and this is why it's hard for you. I asked you, do you understand my point? And you still couldn't give me my point. Because I understand your point very clearly, Dan.
Give it back to me then. All right. So
I agree. Your point, here's your point. You love to watch football, but sport in general, because of how aesthetically players and teams, but especially players, can make you feel with their mastery of certain skills that they do and the way they, to use your words, you're here for the disrespect, right? And you want flair and you want people who can do a lot of different things on the ball and all that. That's your point. And players you appreciate players more who can do all those things, so who can run with the ball. That's why you brought up scissors and step overs earlier, right? Like you want players who create, who get you out of your seat because they, drop players and that sort of thing. That's your point. Did I get anything wrong?
It sounds good to me.
Perfect. Here's my point. I hear all that, and I agree. Those players are special. And my point is, you cannot, when I talk about giving grace to the laborers, and when I talk about what it takes to play at a high level and how difficult, a difficult Haaland's job is. Can you pause it real quick, Jared? Just real quick, so I don't get
the evidence is mounting. So
No. I just want you to hear me, because I think I've heard you. I want you to hear me, because I'm actually because this.
I've heard grace to the laborers like 10 times. I get it, like
because you don't. No, you don't get it. Here's why you don't get it.
Oh boy.
We're watching compilations and you keep talking about, oh my God, you see how easy that was. You're basically knocking down because Haaland isn't taking the ball. Yes, Daniel.
I said it's not impressive. That's not the same as it's not easy.
Daniel, because Haaland isn't getting the ball like Ibrahimovic did and dropping all those players, you, in your opinion, think less of it. And here's my point. Sport doesn't work that way. I don't give a damn what sport it is. So if somebody's able to do something that Haaland does, score goals, and that's not the only thing, but let's say that's the thing he's known for. If he's able to do that well, he's a damn good player. You cannot like that. You can think it's not as good and it's not as pleasing to watch as somebody else. That's fine. And again, this is why I agree with you. I level with you. I think Ibrahimovic is a better rounded player than Haaland in terms of his longevity, his career, he could do certain things. I understand all that. Again, keep in mind, Haaland's also 22 or something like that. But again, when I talk about giving grace to the laborers, no, you cannot tell me you give grace to the laborers if your commentary on it and your only analysis of Haaland is, oh my God, he plays in a great team and he's getting tap-ins. What about when he played at Dortmund and he still scored goals? He scored goals literally everywhere he's been. He didn't just get to Man City and start scoring goals. They got him because he's been scoring goals, right? And here's the thing, you're not analyzing also the things that happen before the ball comes to him or he meets it, however that happens, whether he's running onto it or whether he comes into the box. You're not analyzing what he's doing before to then get in those situations.
Now, that I've given him credit for. I've even shown my daughter clips where specifically to make the point on some of his goals, because he gets a lot of goals and he's always on these highlight reels, but to show her, look at what he did to make the run from box to box.
So
to
these
get
are the
to
things
be,
that...
I'm not mad at that, but I'm saying that to say I'm not telling her to look at him play because I want to. Let's watch a genius at play. Let's watch some beautiful play. Let's watch. So that's why.
Jared, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is when I talk about what our kids are missing. These are the types of things. And Daniel mentioned it when he said, nobody's tuning in to watch a Haaland comp. Like on I get what he's saying there, but here's the problem is people need to understand when I'm teaching kids how to play better, or when we're coaching kids, if we just focus on the ball, the player on the ball, or what they do with the ball, we're not giving them the better picture. If you want to be a better player, and I give this to any kid, regardless of the position they play, but especially if they play in attacking positions, if you want to be really good, watch what these players do when they don't have the ball, right? Why? Because when you don't have the ball, you're setting up, especially in the moments before the ball comes to you, you're setting up what you're going to do and what's about to happen. So the Haalands of the world and the Haalands of the world who are limited in terms of their ability to receive and then dribble at whatever, they have to be so good at certain skills that a lot of other players don't do very well or appreciate, right? So meaning Haaland has to arrive, he has to be a master at arriving at just the right moment. That is a skill that you can learn. Is that a sexy thing that you're going to put up on YouTube compilations? No, of course not. But is it a crucial fundamental in terms of playing the sport? Absolutely. Does that ability of knowing where you are and receiving the ball at the right moment or arriving at the right moment, is that a huge contributor in making a special player? Absolutely. Absolutely. And if people don't understand that or don't want to acknowledge that, that's fine. But don't tell me that tells me your level of understanding of the sport. If you're going to tell me, what Haaland does is easy. No, it's not. Stop.
I never said it was easy, though.
He didn't say it was easy.
I never said it was easy.
But
we agree that he's limited.
You
You said the word limited. That's been my whole argument, that he's limited on the ball. He makes up for it in different facets, but he's limited. And that's okay. You can be limited, but nobody's showing up to stadiums to watch limited footballers. They're watching the footballers.
I think that I'm not trying to disrupt the flow here, but I do think that all of this boils down to aesthetics. In some sense, it means it's subjective.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough, but I think that the real issue is, an aesthetic. We're having an aesthetic conversation, and I think Matanda's got some good points. I mean, that reel that Jared just showed was actually not bad looking. I mean, the plays that were created were decent plays. I mean, no question. He's playing for a world-class team, and there's no question about the fact that he's a world-class striker. Or I hate that word, but he is. He's world class. There's no doubt about that.
I agree.
My guess, because he's so young. How old is he? 22? 23?
Yeah, I think he might be born in 2000.
So he's like 23 maybe right now.
Around there.
Or 24. So, I mean, I'm assuming if the dude does not get hurt, if he doesn't get hurt, if he stays healthy, let's say like he has another 5 years at this level of production. I mean, it's going to be hard to deny that the dude was one of the best at that position that's ever played. I mean, I'm not saying that he's aesthetically my ideal, but it's like Gerd Muller.
Ronaldinho.
Gerd Muller scored. How many goals did Muller score for? I mean, Jesus, the dude was a machine, but he was not aesthetically doing something that, captivated the world.
I think there's room for us to appreciate both, though. And I don't hear to the degree that I'm frustrated with Daniel. I understand his point, and I get it. And I actually, again, I resonate with a lot of it. I guess some of my frustration stems from the and whether people want to say this is just my bias as a coach or whatever, but also and player. I guess part of it stems from like I think when it comes to achieving something as a collective, I appreciate people who have a knack for doing something again that regardless of how they look doing it. I appreciate the people who even do something really good, even if they look awkward doing it. Because you think about that, like how good, like, is this whole like aesthetically pleasing thing? Let's be real though, and I guess I know we're gonna wrap up soon, but that's used against people who look like us a lot, right? Right? Like here's the thing: how many athletes, right, throughout the years in a lot of sports, even in American sports, how many black athletes have been critiqued by using any number of the following phrases? Oh, but it doesn't look right. Oh, but he doesn't do this, or it looks janky, or looks this. Think about quarterbacks in what we call it? Egghead. What do we call it? Hand egg. Quarterbacks in hand egg. Black quarterbacks in hand egg still to this day are critiqued in a lot of rooms purely because the people don't like the aesthetics with which they do certain things, right? They completely forego the effectiveness of those quarterbacks, these black quarterbacks I'm talking about, right? They completely forego that because in their minds, they have this picture, they have this box of like, this is what a quarterback should be. And anything outside of this box, I'm going to just categorically deny. And all I'm saying to us is, we can also be guilty of that too, or a lot of people can be guilty of that in more ways than they think, right? Which is why, again, I get really passionate too from hearing Daniel's
punished
point
for
about
that, though. He's elevated
who's
and said those black athletes, they don't get lofted. They don't get to play at the benefit of great white athletes who make them look better, and then said at the end of the day to be the best on the planet.
Yeah, but Jared,
they get punished.
But you're not. But Jared, Haaland's effective though. He's not purely just being lifted up. Your point about him being lifted up by these other players. No, he's doing the work. Like he's scoring the goals. Like the fact that because I think what you're saying too is a separate thing, which I tend to agree with as well. Like the media's loving of Haaland, and he gets blasted by media as well too. Like let's not be real. Like what Daniel's saying is not unique to this room. Like Haaland's been criticized for. Nobody thinks Haaland is Leo Messi, right? Or Ibrahimovic even. Like that's not what I'm arguing here. I'm making the point that it's one thing to say we don't like something aesthetically. It's another to say that something that we are that this same thing that we don't like aesthetically is not impressive or like just wildly difficult to do and we're worthy of merit within its own right. And again, if Haaland never does a single thing ever again in football, you look at some of the records he holds at his age, and it's objectively it's remarkable. It's scary the amount of goals. Like he's already on charts where it's like, and again, that can't just be because the team is so good, because he was doing this before Man City as well. Right. Obviously, him being at a club, and this is for any player in the world, when you get to a club that's kind of a brand and that kind of a platform, obviously now then there's more, right? Or that you get a chance to do more. But, to wrap this up too, with football, people like to separate the technique and the power and from like the aesthetic, even though like they go hand in hand, right? So it's not like one's purely physically, yes, yeah, a lot of people call him a pace and power merchant. That comment is actually blatantly incorrect. I just how can you look at that's yet like let's be honest about what we're watching, folks. Haaland is a freak of nature. Like he is. He's aesthetically, like athletically, he's gifted in ways that other players are not, which is why he's there. And also my point is, now let's say Haaland was black, right? If Haaland was black, it wouldn't change my argument or what I'm saying, right? Like he would still be like, He wouldn't be Ibrahimovic. He wouldn't obviously be Messi.
No, they'd
but
be
he'd
saying
an
he's just
amazing-
another decent forward, another decent striker.
No, he'd be no. They're players who've been of his build who haven't scored as many goals as him, but who were more talented. You remember Kanu for Arsenal?
Oh, don't you
Kanu?
dare! Don't you dare
What do you mean?
put
don't you
Kanu
dare?
and Haaland in the same sentence.
I'm talking about Kanu. No, I mean no. Kanu didn't score as many goals as Haaland. That's my point. And but Kanu is a more gifted footballer. Would you agree, Daniel?
By a factor of 10 million.
Okay, so Daniel. So then this is what I'm saying, Daniel. Then here's my question to you, Daniel. Beautiful, because we're on the same page. If Kanu is a better footballer, more talented footballer, then how do you rationalize that Haaland objectively has scored and will continue to score many, many, many more goals than Kanu? How do you rationalize that? What is the reasoning you give for that?
I would give you two reasons. The first reason would be whatever intellectual things process in Haaland's head to be able to read space, read distance, read ball flight, and his body's ability to connect with the football and put it in the back of the net. So there's that he has that on his side. The second factor would be he's playing for arguably the greatest team that's ever been assembled in the history of England.
You can't use that argument because, again, I told you this is where you're not hearing me. He did it at Dortmund too. He did it everywhere. Haaland has scored goals everywhere. Why is that being forgotten? It's not because he plays.
We're talking about Haaland now, correct? Or just Haaland, his game in general?
Haaland's a 22-year-old player. He's only been at Man City for a year, Daniel. So, and we're not talking about Kanu, and you're saying, oh, he's better because he's playing with the greatest team ever. No.
That wasn't the first answer I gave, though. This is an added point.
But the point's not valid because
the first answer I gave is something that you would agree with. Yes, that there's something in Haaland's game that leads him to score a propensity of goals.
I agree. So now,
and that something is awareness, finishing, obviously his size and speed.
Yeah.
And the things that happen between his ears. I give him that grace, if you will. But then when we ask him, could you do this in a team where you are in the Bundesliga, where there's acres of space everywhere, where you're not playing with Pep Guardiola, who dominates 80% of the ball? Could you do this in a place that's not Norway, where you're the only one, or not the only one, where you stand out as a freak athlete among the rest of your peers? If you transplant Haaland into Crystal Palace or someplace like that, where they're not dominating the ball, would he be able to get these goals? No. If you put Kanu in Crystal Palace, would he be able to get you something more than Haaland? Probably yes. That's my only point.
You've made some two big leaps there that are completely ridiculous. Number one, you've completely canceled out Haaland's entire career because you said if you take him out of Norway, he was born in Norway. Then you said if you're not doing it in the Bundesliga, I forget where he was before Dortmund. Like he was someplace before there. Like how are you going to erase
Salzburg? Yeah, RB Salzburg in Austria.
Okay, so he scored and he scored goals there, right? So,
but the styles of play in those leagues would lead a player like Haaland to be more effective.
I just want, for the record, everybody, and it's people listening, people watching, you see how much backtracking you have to do? Because, again, I think you're stuck, my man. Your points, the point about Haaland that you just don't want to accept, and this is fine. We can leave it there. My goal here is not to convince you. I think I've gotten across exactly what I wanted to get across, which is this. And I think this Kanu-Haaland comparison is exactly right, which is it really doesn't matter how you and I disagree about what we think aesthetically in the game is pleasing. Because I actually aesthetically, I love what you love as well, but I also love aesthetically. I love the team concept as well. I appreciate both. I love both.
That's the main difference I hear, though. Is that your analysis of Haaland comes within the context of what he's able to do for the team because you're a coach, because that's how you appreciate football. I am judging Haaland the individual. What is he capable of giving me personally? And that isn't limited.
But they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand, Daniel. You can't assess.
But the two things can coexist. We've been arguing for an hour, and I don't hear a disagreement with you. I just think my frame is different than yours, which is fine. It is what it is.
I'm looking at these highlights.
They're looking a bit Haalandish. But that's not Haaland couldn't do that. Haaland couldn't do that.
No, because you make statements that are factually incorrect, or that you
That
assume
one he
something
couldn't
that's-
do. That
like,
one,
what do you
that
mean he
last
couldn't
one.
do?
This
Which
one,
one?
I don't see him doing this one. Hold on, this one right here.
I mean, you didn't have to rewind it. That's a bit mean, but
Oh, why? No, because I don't. I think this is this one. I don't see Haaland doing that one. That.
I mean,
that
okay,
the flick over somebody?
okay, I understand we're on Black Power Media or whatever it's going to be called later. Like the idea that like sport is individual. Like well, actually no, that's wrong.
No, but
But-
it's not.
but-
It's not.
Individualism within sport is something that should be appreciated. Okay, like yes, it happens within a team construct, and that should be the superior analysis. Is how does this help the team and things, but there has to be as if there's grace for the laborer, is there grace for the artist?
I actually, but I think that's where your argument falls short, my man. I think you're the one who doesn't appreciate the individual in this instance.
Of course,
when
I'm
it comes to
freestyling.
Haaland.
Like I've been freestyling for an hour.
You're-
Let me get off the
because
chat again. I'm sorry. Go for it.
You're the one who's not because every time because you do this thing where you with the Haaland comp, and I know he's not the only player you do this with, but this is
Oh
the
my
time.
God.
With the Haaland comp, you're like, oh yeah, but this, that, but so it's like an agenda almost, which I'm like, where does that come from? Because while I can appreciate Kanu and I can say this is amazing and yes, but from looking at it from both lenses, the individual and the team, why can't you also appreciate, what Haaland does is amazing, just even as an individual?
No, see, for me, what Manchester City do is amazing.
Right. Okay. So you don't think that Haaland as an individual, what he does is amazing?
It's impressive to an extent, but it's not amazing.
And
It doesn't wow me, and that is as far as I'll go. I think you've actually pushed me to say Haaland is good in some way. Like that's cool.
Okay.
But
But
if
we found our
we've seen
Right.
Haaland before effectively, and his name is Romelu Lukaku.
Oh my God.
And people don't appreciate Lukaku in the same way as Haaland. I think that's a better counterpoint than Kanu. It's Lukaku. There was a game 2 seasons ago where Lukaku had 7 touches in a match. 7. And people were roasting him online. How can you be 100 million and you only have 7 touches? Earlier this season, I think Haaland had a game where he had 9 or 10, but because he plays within Manchester City and it's Pep Guardiola and it's all of this, all of that tiki-taka, people don't have the same smoke for Haaland that they do for Lukaku. Now I think that's besides your point, and I think you would agree with me about why people are framed in narratives as they are. But their game is the same effectively. They're strong, fast, tall people who play on the last man and can finish. It's just that Haaland is obviously a little bit better in some areas, but the volume of chances that he gets, of course, he's going to score a bunch.
And that's where we have a disagreement. But you always make these little.
You have to admit that Haaland is, at whatever age he is, there's no question about the fact that physically he and Lukaku are probably 2 of the strongest attackers I've ever seen. Actually, I mean physically, nobody's going to push them around.
Exactly, but like these goal comps will remind you of Haaland. He's just not going to get praised for it because his speed and strength is appreciated, or not appreciated. It's expected of him. He's only there because he has it, effectively. But Haaland would survive in any era just because he is who he is, and we live in a
he's physically
European
big. How tall
dominated
is Haaland?
world.
Is he 190? How tall is he?
You're gonna catch me out with centimeters, bruh. Like he's 6'4",
No,
6'5".
Maybe he's like 6'3", 6'4", maybe.
No, he's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
6'5", I think. Yeah, he's pretty
No, is
tall.
he 6'5"? That's huge.
I think
didn't
so.
know
I
that.
thought so, but I'll look it
Jesus.
up. I'll look it up. I thought he was really tall.
I
Actually.
think he's 6'4".
Lukaku is 6'3".
Yeah.
All right, he's 6'4". He's listed as Haaland is listed at 6'4". Lukaku.
Okay, so
I
he's a
think,
little bit
listed-
taller than Lukaku.
Now, Mutanda, when you watch these highlights,
Yes.
do you appreciate
Lukaku's
the
6'3".
context of what Inter Milan are doing,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
does Manchester City's football kind of give more, I don't know, credence to what Haaland is up to because you appreciate the context of the team,
I get.
Or do these highlights not hit you in the same way?
No, they're fit. Like, I think a lot of the things that I was talking about that Haaland does before any good striker, and Lukaku's a good striker. They do certain things to get into certain areas to finish. Now, your point about, I think we can debate certain things about players and where the comparisons are, because I would say if Lukaku, I guess I would ask you, I would turn around the question.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying Haaland is like a Lukaku. So in your
I'm saying they're
then,
similar, like they're left-footed,
okay.
Their games are
Okay.
similar games.
Okay. So then what makes up how come Lukaku doesn't score at the same rate, in your opinion?
The teams he plays for.
No, it's not. That's not
Okay.
the answer. That's not the answer, Daniel.
Well, then I would ask you. Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
But
There's a follow-up question to that.
I think you got to admit, even based on, I don't know, was he at Dortmund for 2 years or whatever? But based on
go ahead, Robert.
based on Dortmund and Man City, there is no question, there's not even a doubt that he is better than Lukaku. There's no comparison.
At
scoring goals.
At some point, you have to take the.
He's a better athlete.
No, I just want a clarification. Like I was just curious about what he's better at.
Yeah, I think he's better at scoring goals than Lukaku, for sure.
Okay.
If you look at the
you put Lukaku on Man City's team right now. Just substitute Lukaku for Haaland. Lukaku is not going to score the number of goals that Haaland does.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No way.
I would say if you put Haaland in Serie A, he'd find it more hard.
Oh, for sure, because Serie A is a fucking defensive, minefield.
And like if Lukaku played for Dortmund, I feel like he would have scored the same goals as Haaland. But it's
why? But that statement's so wild because it doesn't. Why are you resorting to ifs, ands, assumptions? We can just look at the data. Haaland has scored. The thing about it, though, right? When you start making, that's where people get lost. When we start saying, "Well, this player can only do this," but if they were in this situation, like this doesn't. No, we don't. It doesn't work that way. The difference between Haaland and Lukaku is Haaland is a more clinical finisher. Right? I think Lukaku is actually much better at his hold-up play, as somebody said, yes. But it's not as black and white as Haaland doesn't do hold-up play. He plays for Man City. He has to hold up the ball at some point, right? Mm-hmm. Like whether he has 9 touches or 7 touches or whatever people want to like. No, at some point they have the game against Arsenal last season at the Etihad. City intentionally bypassed because of how Arsenal was pressing. They had to go longer into Haaland, and they had a goal come directly from that. And then they had other chances directly from that, going longer into Haaland, holding up, laying it off, right? And it's something, obviously, that he can get better at. So we have to – this is what I'm saying is, like, I don't – and I think this is a better footballing conversation the deeper we go and when we actually video and things like that. What I'm moving us towards, and this is where I think we have a clear disagreement, which is fine, but also in our analysis of players – yes, you have to appreciate the context, but you also have to just appreciate the individual and what they do and what they have done in different contexts. You haven't given Haaland that grace. You talk about you understand when I say give players grace? No, because you keep bringing up, oh, but this. You'll say, yeah, he's done this, but it was in Germany. So he scored goals. Oh, but right? Like this guy's literally been, you understand, before he got to Man City, he was already on some list for goals in the Champions League or something. Like, he's a
goal scoring freak. That's it. That's an agreement.
And that is in itself, just if nothing else.
Now what I'm saying,
remarkable.
I'm saying, and I already know your response, but what I'm saying is, if you put Benzema, Lewandowski, Suarez, Haaland,
this is an assumption,
and I know exactly what you're going to say.
Okay, go ahead.
If you put Suarez, Benzema, Lewandowski, Haaland, Harry Kane, and we're all playing 5-a-side in a cage, and you pick first, I pick first. Mm-hmm. Haaland is last picked out of all of the top strikers. And now the disagreement here is that, and this is what I'm assuming you would say, is because, well, 5-a-side is different. You need different skills. It's not the same as 11-a-side. Boo, boo, boo. My appreciation of football all boils down to street football, to bringing those elements to the pitch. It's why we appreciate Ronaldinho, why we appreciate Neymar. Like, I want those attributes or those skills brought to 11-a-side because that's where I get my enjoyment. Now you have your lens is more about how Haaland fits into the picture of a team, and there I hear your point and I agree. And what Haaland does for the team is invaluable in the sense that he scores so many goals. He's generally in the right place at the right time. But what I'm telling you is how most people, and this is the only assumption I'll make actually. What most people appreciate, what most people appreciate about football really is what people are able to do with the ball at their feet. And that is what people mean when they say, is he a good footballer or not? Can he do things that other people can't do? And Haaland can do things other people can't do, and it isn't appreciated in the way that it should. But we want people to dribble people. We want to see good football, and Haaland just doesn't give me enough good football other than he's the period on the end of good football.
Let me tag the first part that you said. You said about if you had all these players and you were picking for 5-a-side. You're partially right about what I would say, but here's the thing about why I would say
it's what I would say in response if somebody said that. So.
Yeah, but that's an important. But here's why that's important. So this isn't 5-a-side cage football, street football, right? Now, so that's important because it's a completely different game. Like, and this is what I mean is you see how the lengths to which you, and I understand your point, but it's not just you. I'm not going to make this personal, but if we generalize, like people who make this argument or go down this road of logic with regards to Haaland and other players, they have to create these scenarios, right? That are like perfectly so that they can bring out their argument. And it's like, yeah, of course, if I had a pick between Suarez and Messi and Haaland and R9 and Thierry Henry for my Nike 5-a-side cage match,
I didn't even go that deep. I was trying not to use like Maradona and Messi and stuff.
I'm just saying though, I'm highlighting the point. I'm just really highlighting the point.
I'm with you.
I may not pick Haaland, but here's the thing: is that's not the way football works, right? So what I'm saying is, when I look at the larger game, it's not even just so much I'm appreciating Haaland within the context of the team. What I'm also saying is, just even independent, just by himself, right? Haaland changes, and every good player, right? Every good player, and he is a good player. He may not be one of the greats, but he's a good player. And he's great at what he does, actually. Obviously. When Haaland went to Man City kept altered somewhat the way the team plays because of him, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't like. That's important that we can't forget. It's not like this guy is a normal average dude. Right. And that's what I hear. And I think you and I understand one another and we're all good. But like when people are making their commentary about players that they don't like as much as other players for whatever reason, aesthetically or whatever, sometimes the conversation, and this is what I felt at certain periods now, which I think not only did you backtrack, but I think we clarified some things. We went deeper. Yeah, you did. And we went deeper on some things.
I don't want you to hate me, bro. Like I can find common ground.
I'm not hating you. No, I know. Exactly. No, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad we did.
I'm joking.
No, and I'm glad we did because we actually interesting. The football conversation gets deeper. It gets richer. Because the thing is, what people don't do, and this is like in YouTube videos and whatever, it's more clickbait worthy to say, Haaland's a League 2 player. He's trash. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do step overs. Yeah, that's going to get you clicks. It's going to get you a following on social media, maybe. But it's not football analysis. It's not. There's nothing. You don't gain anything from that, right? Because even if subjectively you think that's true, Haaland's trash or this player's trash, it's not a productive way of looking at the sport. It doesn't give grace to the laborers. Is my point. I keep saying that because, again, it doesn't even value or appreciate the unique skills, and yes, he has some unique skills, that a player like Erling Haaland has. And this is why, final point, when I brought up Filippo Inzaghi, for example, I brought him up because Haaland isn't the first player in history, especially forward. He's not the first forward in history who people have looked at and said, this this guy doesn't really strike me as a footballer, or he doesn't do this well, or he's whatever. Like, Filippo Inzaghi had nowhere near the physical gifts that Haaland does, his makeup, but he was just a poacher and a goal scorer, and everybody could and people could appreciate those skills. So all I'm saying is, let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it consistent for everybody. Like, you can not like a player, but you can appreciate the skills that they give. And in the case of Haaland, this is what separates him from Inzaghi, and why I brought up that comparison is, while he's not aesthetically as pleasing as other players, the number of goals that this guy has scored everywhere he's been is worthy of praise in and of itself. Forget about the team he's on, right? Of course, the team now especially does help him, but still, it's wild that he scored this many goals. And we have to look at the skills that he has. So that's my point, you know?
Okay. Great.
All right, folks.
No, listen, I appreciate the debate. I love these gatherings, the discussion. I look forward to the next one. Did we get a prediction, by the way? I think Robert asked for them, and then we got into a hole.
Like 4-1 Madrid is what I'm going for.
4-1 Madrid?
Yep.
I think Dortmund's going to score at least a couple of goals. But you may be right. I think Real's just got too much firepower for him. I mean, the fact that Real largely shut down Man City makes me think that Bruce is going to have a hard time on the offense. So, and I figure you got, they don't have anybody on Borussia that's even close to Vinny. So
I think it's going to be 2-0 Real Madrid. I don't think Dortmund's scoring.
Yeah, that would be a good bet.
That's my
that's not a bad shout. But listen, good people, appreciate you so much. Thanks for having us.
Love, everybody. Thank you very much. Peace. Everybody, thanks everybody who joined us. Peace if you're willing to fight for it, like Fred Hampton used to say.
I think Watanda won like through attrition at this point. Like I just feel I feel like I played 120 minutes. Sorry, Jared.
No, it's all good.
I stepped on Fred.
Ronaldinho's my favorite player to watch outside of Zinedine Zidane. So that just shows you where I'm at. But go ahead, Jared. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't. I'm with Daniel at his original point. But I admit my analysis is based on illogic and the trauma, my trauma. That's it. All right, peace, everybody. Catch you next time right here.
I mix what I like. I mix what I like is exactly where you want and need to be. I mix what I like, organic, vegan, soul food from your media diet. Live healthy.